welcome to the Residents Forum. So we've got quite a big programme today. Michael and Andy here presenting about the school, and then we'll have a community responder. We've got Becca who's going to do a development update, and then I'll do the community update at the end. Over to you guys.
My name's Mike Cowan. I work for a company called Morgan Sindall. We are the construction partner for Cambridgeshire County Council for the Alconbury Weald Education Campus. Andy's joined me today. He's going to talk a little bit more just about some of the planning aspects and some of the bigger picture of the campus. But I'm here really just to put a builder's spin on what we've been doing for sort of the best part of the last year in developing the education campus. I'm not sure if any of you have been over to the exhibition earlier, but there's some more information that's over there in the club building. There's some boards laid out. This is just an extract of some of that presentation. What I would say is I'm not a public speaker. Like I said, I'm a builder, so hopefully it'll all be all right. So I say I represent Morgan Sindall. We're part of a much bigger project team for the Alconbury, and we call it AEC, but Alconbury Weald Education Campus. So other stakeholders and key partners on there, Cambridgeshire County Council, their project managers who are Faithful and Gould. The project is being sponsored by two academies who will eventually run the two elements of the education campus. So that's DMAT, Diocese of Ely, Academy Trust, and then Horizons Trust as well. They'll be running the SEN. Lots of other stakeholders involved in there. Obviously, we're in lots of negotiation and consultation with UNC, other local parties where we're interested parties, and so we're here today. Department for Education, lots of other people. And I'm supported in my role as lead design manager by a consultant team. Barton Wilmore are our planning consultants, Atkins are our designers, Stantec, we have acoustic consultants, geotechnical consultants, everybody else. Much bigger team, so there we are. Very briefly, our project, our scope for our project, like I say, we've been involved for about the last year. Our brief was to design and build an education campus here on Alconbury Weald. And the campus itself is split down at the moment into 5 individual buildings, as you'll see through here. It's a phased development, so we have 2 phases now of phase 1 of the construction, and then there will be other later phases as the school expands, as more houses get built and there's more need for those requirements out on here. So at the moment we're building, and I'm probably, if the pointer isn't going to work, this building, which is the secondary education building, so that's 3 buildings. It's got the main building, which is the main education where the classrooms are, the majority of the classrooms. There's a performing arts building, and then there's a sports hall at the back, and the larger blue building that you'll see down at the bottom, that's the SEND school, so that's Special Educational Needs and Disabilities School. That'll cater for 150 students initially. And then in latter phases that gets expanded and goes up to 200 students as we go through. Andy will probably talk a little bit more just about where we are in that planning process as we move on. So.
Yeah, we thought it was just worth putting the education campus in a bit of context so you can see where we are in relation to the site. So the campus sits here, which is the red star, which is pretty central now within Alconbury Weald, and takes account of the potential development of Grange Farm at the bottom of the site here. So it sits centrally within the site, and that's really important for us in terms of where it sits, because it enables us to maximise the potential for walking and cycling for residents of Alconbury Weald to the site moving forward. And you can see here we've got some walking distances and stuff shown on there. But it also is really important in terms of its location because it ties in directly with the walking and cycling routes that are planned in as part of the wider master plan, not just in phase 1, but actually as part of the scheme as a whole, and the public transport route that will ultimately run right the way through the site down into Huntingdon. So we'll be related very closely to that as well, which is really important, obviously, from our context. That's the key phase 1 master plan. So that's where we're sitting currently. So we're in the Pavilion building, which is just up here. And you can see Semlers Road runs all the way through the site, education campus over here, and the primary school over here. So that's where we're sitting at the moment in terms of the geography of where the secondary education campus is going to ultimately sit in relation to the key phase. Just also wanted to make sure that it's understood that the way in which the planning structure is set up at Alconbury Weald, there's an outline planning permission, and then there's a key phase approval, which has a design code. So all of this is being built to an approved design code for this part of the development. And that will happen as future phases move forward as well. That design code applies equally to the school. So to ensure that the design of the school sits properly within the development and responds to the development, we have to follow a certain set of rules and aspirations for the school that have been set out in that document. And they're set out here, so obviously we are quite a prominent location, as I showed you, so the nature of the building needs to be quite significant and prominent, not just for the first phase, but actually for the wider development as a whole. High quality, well, you'll be the judge of that when you see the later slides and when it comes forward. Sustainability is really key. I think Mike will say a bit about this later on, but this school is going to set a new benchmark standard for sustainability standards for the county as a whole. So it's quite an exciting project in that regard in terms of how we're dealing with things like energy and so on. Transparency, making sure you can connect through it and it's visually connected and so on. Simple in terms of being understandable. And then inclusivity, which obviously goes to the heart of an education campus. And then there's a series of principles in terms of how the master plan has been approached, which hopefully you'll see through. So it's just trying to make it clear that it's not something that's been designed in isolation. It very much forms part of a wider process that we've been through with Urban and Civic as the developer of the site as a whole to make sure it all fits.
This is just a master plan for the whole of the education campus. As you were saying before, when you saw that sort of little isometric view, the whole of the site in this current phase, we'll say in our phase one, split into 5 buildings. Secondary school, the main SEND main block. There is a smaller isolated building which is a 6th form for the SEN. There is a energy centre that sits in the middle, which is providing all the services connections and feeding the whole of the site. And then there are 3 other buildings, which are the main block for the SEC, the Performing Arts and the Sports Hall. As we just touch base at as I'll move on, I say this is phase 1. This is what they call a 4 FE with an 8 FE core school, sorry, but a bit technical. 600 pupils for the SC school initially in the first phase. In the latter phases, that will get another 600 pupils added. And then in the third phase, when it goes to a full 11 FE school, that's 1,650 students. So the SEND school, I said, is 150 now. At the second phase of that has a specialist autism unit, which is added, and then a post-19 block as well, which is actually added on to the post-16, and that'll take that up to up to 200 in total. So this slide is just sort of indicating here again the little red blobs of where you can see is the school actually develops over the second phases. Yeah, okay, I'll come around here so it might be easier. So you can see car parking. The car park gets extended as the school gets bigger. Specialist autism unit gets added, and the post-19. The extra 600 classroom spaces to take it up to 1,200 students, another 600 class spaces. As the sports hall gets bigger, then there's more requirement for more additional changing rooms, so they get added on. And this little area up here is what they call a mugger. That's a multi-use games area. Again, just about numbers, it increases in size at some point in the future. Just very briefly on the rest of here, you can see is that lots of sports fields all laid out, laid to grass. It has a summer and a winter layout of sports provision. At the moment, they are covering any sports at the moment. We just look at the moment at the space for football or hockey or athletics or whatever else, and just making sure that spatially that the requirements are all there. We are indicated here at the moment, well, this is an artificial turf pitch. So again, primarily at the moment laid out to football We'll come back onto that slightly. 11 FE, when it goes up to there to the full 1650, car park extension, further extension to the secondary school, another activity studio that gets added onto it. And we're also indicating here, which will be a latter part of the development, a sixth form block for the secondary school. That's a 384 place sixth form block. From a planning point of view, is that we are putting detailed planning in now for phase 1 works only. We're doing outline planning for the second phase of developments, and then we're doing some reserved land application, tell me if I say it wrong, Andy, for then the full 11 FE. And what that means is that the school later on can come back and have that continuation as the numbers increases without having to go back into a full planning application again. So, it's not the best visual, but I was just trying to sort of indicate on here. These pictures were taken when we had some summer. We had a bit of sun earlier on in the year. I think it was the beginning of August, but yeah. Obviously, the housing development as it's going on there now, the rest of the old hangars and some of the hard standings that were over there, sort of that side of the airfield have all been now demolished, and that ground is being remediated and all filled and then brought up to level. So when we as contractors come on board or onto site, we've got a nice clean site on which to then to work from and to build from. But it can't see it particularly well, but there's a little red line that goes out through here, gives you an indication of the size of the education campus. It's about 12.4 hectares in total over the whole of the site. Just on our phases here. So, as I said, we're fortunate that we've got 2 school sponsors for this particular project. So there is the secondary school is going to be sponsored and run by DMAT, Diocese of Ely. And that school will be called the Alconbury Weald Church Academy. They are actually the same providers who are doing the primary school here on site. And for the SEND school, that will be run by, they've now changed their name just recently, so it's the Horizons Trust. But yeah, that will be called the PWA, Priestley Wood Academy. And that's going to be run by Spring Common, who, if anybody knows them, they've got an outstanding school, SEND school in Huntingdon at the moment. So 2 very good providers. Roughly on the site, fictionally, the site will be split into 2. Obviously, from a safeguarding point of view, from the children, for the SEN and for the older children who are then going through into the secondary school. There will be a fence line that goes between the 2. There's some shared facilities, and there's obviously aspirations is that there will be as much interconnectivity between the 2 schools as possible. Certainly looking to share some facilities. The SEN hoping to go in to use the Performing Arts Centre at times. They'll all have access to the sports provisions, although the SEN school is self-contained as well within that. So. Very briefly, this is just the ground floor of that H block. You could see the SEC, the main block. Entranceway coming in, it's at the end of Assembly Drive, so it's where it comes through to the Civic Square, where it will come through there. Main entrance into the school. There's some admin meeting room pods that come down through here. 4 stair cores that run through. Big plant rooms, that I say, because we need quite a lot of space for driving all of this NZEB. This nearly energy zero plant that we're going to be looking to put in there. There's some admin spaces. Main part of this is kitchen and dining areas, and then there's some specialist rooms, the 2 orange blobs on here, which are DT, design technology, and food tech. And then there's other smaller ones are breakout spaces and office spaces. And as you go up the building on the next floor, as we'll see over here on the first floor, this is the sort of the main crux of the teaching areas, sort of laid out in 2 separate wings, north and south wing. These are your standard classroom teaching areas. There'll be your maths rooms, your humanities, your languages and the likes of those. Over the top of the dining area, we have this link bridge, we're calling it a tech bridge, that links through the school. It's got a staircase that goes down to the ground floor level. It's got a breakout space coming through here, that orange blob, for more softer learning, sort of more as children sort of get older. It's not going to be all necessarily all classroom. It's a little bit more breakout spaces and some self-tuition and bits pieces. And then an IT suite as you go. Again, the purple bits are breakout spaces again, some admin areas for teachers and the likes. And you'll see the toilet cores and stair cores. As you go up the building to the second floor, the top floor in this building, there is it's a hella upstairs. This is a large sort of large staircase, informal sort of presentation spaces. The idea there'll be TED Talks and sort of group formats and sort of presentations by the students that will come out onto this space. Leads out onto two wings again, north and south, which are more specialist teaching rooms. So these are your science rooms and art and reprographics and things. And again, then you've got this beacon at the top, which is the LRC, is a library space and some learning space. This is going to be, there's a section cut through the building. You can see this building, this front element. Large space. It's going to be sort of lit up or coloured glass in there. That's going to be a beacon for everybody around Alconbury. You can see that it sits right at the end of the Civic Square, or right on the main entrance, and it's going to be quite a very impressive building when it goes through. Very handy. Cheers. Just a couple of other images that you'll see. Here's the Hella upstairs, staircases down, and the link bridge. Library spaces again. All that's up onto the LRC. And some of the materials that you're starting to look on the elevations as they go through. Robust materials. It's got a lot of civic presence. It's a large building. Again, sort of see when you start to come on there, it's a very impressive looking building, which we've had to done, and it's not normal necessarily for a school to be like this, but it is addressing all of those design code points that Andy was putting through. The second building for the secondary school is the Performing Arts block. Again, similar format as the external elevations, double height space building. It's got a large hall and performance area. This is retractable seating, so it can come back in to create a large hall space. This is a drama studio with a partition wall that can open up to become a stage area. So you've got this, a large sort of auditorium space. Some of the other classrooms that are linked in and around there, and then on the floor above are specialist music teaching rooms, music practice rooms, and things like that. So, the sports hall, forecourt sports hall, pretty much fairly standard for a school of this size. This one's sized to Sport England requirements, so it's slightly bigger than what you would normally get in a typical school. Changing rooms and an activity studio, and this is just indicating as those different phases come on board, additional changing spaces as the need arises, and then again another activity studio that comes on board. And these again just some graphics and artists' impressions of what we're working towards. Here you can see this is the Performing Arts block. That is the elevation of the main block that you'll see in the distance, and this is the sports hall. Again, a lot of brickwork and bronze cladding panels that are on there. It's quite an impressive building. So, the PWA or the SEND school, single story goes through. Go on. Similar format of materials because it's keeping this idea of the same campus feel right the way through across all buildings. Layout of this building, generally entrances coming through from here where it's linking into that sort of car park area out the front and the drop-off of the school. Central courtyard, main hall. It's got dining spaces that are wrapped around it, which is broken down into smaller areas for the different needs of the different children are going to be in here. Lots of sort of medical suites and specialist rooms in here, which are the physiotherapy rooms and things like that for some of the children who have got more needs. There's a hydrotherapy pool that's going to be going in, plant space, kitchen, and the layout of the school really is quite similar in between these sort of four blocks that will go around. Similar layout, classrooms, much smaller classrooms than in the main block. Each one's got its own hygiene rooms and toilets that's all fully accessible for all of the needs of all of the students. Everyone's got direct access out to play areas straight outside at ground level, and some of those other images that you'll see around are some of the precedence images that we're using just to sort of working towards in designing the school with the end user. You know, they're laying down is exactly what that criteria is that they're looking to do. One of the big things about here, again, is this, all the classrooms interlinking. The idea is it will be a forest school, so it's going to be very green. Lots of sort of green spaces that are going to be going around the outside. Opportunities for students to be able to get out close up to living and all the plants and raised beds and lots of different activities for them going through there. There's trim trails which will be people and wheelchair friendly and whatever else. So, and again, just another little section through the building of what it's actually going to look like. But very similar, again, the post-16 block. It's set slightly away because there are slightly older children than the main block. And as the next phase comes on, that building sort of doubles in height, in size, and then that's where the post-19 block will actually link onto. Again, similar format and materials that will go through for the rest of the campus buildings. I won't try not to go into too much detail. The idea is that, as Andy has said, there's a new standard that Cambridgeshire County Council have actually looked at doing as moving towards NZEB, which is or nearly zero energy buildings. So this is looking at the amount of energies that the buildings are actually going to be consuming. And the idea is that we've got a set of criteria that we need to achieve. Some of these don't mean anything, but EPCA, that's energy performance rating, similar to what you'll get on your fridge. So we're looking at high A's and getting those down to single-digit figures, so very low energy usage. And lots of renewables. So the idea is that more than 80% of the energy that we'll be using in this building will come from renewable sources. And how are we going to be doing that? Different principles. One is actually quality build to start with, having buildings which are very airtight, so we're not losing energy out of the building and heating. One of the big things on here will all be electricity. The whole school will be driven by electricity. The majority of that electricity is going to come from renewable sources, either PVs on site, or with the decarbonisation of the electric grid. So, but we're sorry, get a bit techie. But yeah, the whole building will have air source heat pumps on all of the buildings. It's got a mixed mode of ventilation that's in there. So there's been a lot of queries about people now in schools and things about COVID-related things. Well, we're starting to sort of incorporate some of that as ventilation systems now that in future can have extra air quality monitoring that's put into that and whatever else. So we're moving forwards in addressing lots of those. And just a very well-performing, energy-performing building. Timeline for all of this, which is what probably some people are quite interested. Where we are at the moment, sort of later on this year, or autumn of this year, we'll be putting our planning application in, hoping that will come through and all approved by spring in 2022. Between now and then, we'll be continuing developing the design. Hopefully we'll get to go onto site summer 2022 with the SEN, which is our phase 1A element, will be delivered for September 2023, start of the academic year. Then with the SEC school then following on for September 2024. I think then we're about there. Whistle-stop tour, period straight, there's probably a lot of throw at you in that there. The boards are out in the club building for the next couple of days. If you wanted to, if you want to go on there, there's QR codes that are on some of the boards and some of the flyers. You've probably all seen, has everybody had a flyer that's come through the post? So hopefully you'll have seen about this. There's a website on there now. The website isn't always live, but it's been livened up again at the moment. So you can go onto there. It's got a lot more drawings and detail about where we're going. And as we're progressing through the design, we'll be putting more information onto that.
About 10 years ago, the government decided that they would start a first responder scheme up whereby local people within the community who live locally would be trained up to a certain standard, so they could be first on scene. And indeed, my job is to arrive on scene and prolong life, giving life-saving treatment until the crew turn up and whisk that patient away. As this development's getting bigger, I'm getting called more and more to here. Unfortunately, for some reasons, or for many valid reasons, moving away, maternity, etc., the team that I head up has been reduced and reduced and reduced, and at the moment it's just me, and I cover a massive area. Excluding this area, my area is the A14 north to Peterborough and the A1 to the Cambridgeshire border, and then 2 bubbles that cover Alconbury Weald and the Stokeleys and Spaldwick. So I could be called, and I live in Buckworth, which is a small village outside of Alconbury, which is somewhat central, I suppose. And I'm getting on average 4 or 5 calls a day to respond. Indeed, my record for working on a Category 1 patient before the crew turned up was 1 hour and 5 minutes, which is, and we did get him back, so that was really good. As I say, as Alconbury Weald gets bigger and bigger, I've had 4 calls in the last 5 days to here, and getting here is becoming a bit of a problem. I'm not allowed to run on blues when I'm a volunteer, and so I'm in a normal car, although it's all stickered up, but people don't get out of the way, so it does take me time to get here. So I'm looking to recruit people that are based on this site, that will respond under my banner of the team, but respond just to this area, so Alconbury Weald and the Stokeleys. So my one plea to you is that if you know of anybody that wants to do any volunteer work, you will be trained up. Please put them in contact with me. It's important that we do try and get this area covered as soon as possible. Now, the second part that I am here to talk to you about is the fact that in setting the team up, the kit that I carry, and this is only some of my kit here, that's invariably the stuff that I'm coming through your front door with carrying, which has a defib, pulse ox, there's oxygen, there's some drugs in it, etc. Costs in the region of £4,000, which I have to fund myself. Admit I don't pay out my own pocket, but I've spent many hours shaking the tin outside of Tesco's and Asda and Sainsbury's and what have you. So as this site gets covered more and more, and we do find someone to cover it, I need a second amount of kit. So if you know of anyone business-wise that wish to sponsor, or individuals that give to charity, etc., again, please put them in contact with me, because I have to find £4,000 to have the kit available for this site. Normally I would do a CPR demonstration and defib, talk to you about defibs. There are 2 on this site. Do you know where they are, anybody? Yeah, there's 2 on this site. Indeed, there should be 3, because the County Council's building must have one now by law. So, but that's obviously locked in of an evening. There has been some issues, I know, about one being accessed because there's some building work, but Natalie sorted out and it now can be found. You don't have access to that, because we do have a lot of problems with how can I put this? Individuals thinking that they can play with the machines. So if it's not locked, and which they are now, we've unfortunately found some of them soaked in urine and human feces. We've had little Johnny trying to zap his buddy on the sports field. There's a very sophisticated bit of kit and it will not allow that. And indeed, one time a councillor, not from this area, was so proud about having provided most of the money to put a public AED in for their village. One evening at a dinner party, she decided to go and get it and show off. And we had a Cat 1 call while she was having dinner. And when the husband turned up, there was nothing in the box. Thankfully, a CFR was around the corner and he got to her. So we now lock them all. And only I and the CAD, i.e. the 999 operator, knows the number. So that if you are dispatched, and we have had residents here asked to be dispatched to the shop to get that AED, they dial the code in and grab it and run out and use it. It's a very simple thing to do. It's a big piece of kit. And I'll quickly show you mine. This is a variant of mine, of the ones that are around. That's mine. It talks to you, it shouts at you loudly, you cannot make a mistake, and it will not kill you. They are, say, a very sophisticated bit of kit in that if you're flatlined, i.e. completely dead, it will not shock you, but it would only shock if you can sense in other words, the body saying, I want to recover from this. If there's a slight sense of a heartbeat, it will allow you to shock. They're very simple. Indeed, in Cambridgeshire, in February of this year, I think I'm going to get my numbers right, non-professional individuals, people who don't work for the ambulance service, who used a public AED, saved 85 lives. Those people are walking on this planet now, whereas if they'd not had the public access to the AED and those people had not carried out CPR in accordance with the operator shouting down the phone at you and used the AED on them, those individuals will be dead. Even 2 of them are very small children, i.e. toddlers, that it's been used on. So they're a very valuable bit of kit, and indeed I've been talking to Natalie and Rebecca about, as this site expands, more and more of them being put out around here. So you are covered well at the moment, but you will hopefully be covered better as the site gets big, especially when the school comes online. If you've just heard of it, they'll have one. That may not be accessible to residents, but certainly as the residential properties go up, more and more are being fitted. So yes, Natalie's trying to arrange a demonstration and hands-on with a dummy and a training defib, so you can get used to the noise, the pads, and what you have to do, and the strength of which. It usually amuses me that on Casualty and other soaps, that they first of all manage to do CPR on a bed, which is ridiculous because the bed compresses and it bounces and got to put them on the floor or on a table. And secondly, it's just a nice little gentle touch. Oh, he's not coming back, doctor. Whereas you have to depress a third of the chest. And I know it's hard to say, but I've never not broken all the ribs as I've been doing it. So it's quite a shock to people, the severity at which you do it. But the patient's invariably dead and you're bringing him back, or her. So it's good to get the hands on and realise how difficult it can be and how exhausting it is to continue to do that until someone turns up. Very brief, very quick. That's me. Anyone have any questions about generally the ambulance service, the situation we're in now, defibs, CPR, anything else?
Thank you ever so much, David, for coming down.
That's
Just
all
to
right.
say that the 2 AEDs are, one is on the side of the Swinford stores on the shop, and the other one is actually behind the club. So if you ever need them, that's where they are. Always worth having a look, just so that you know where they are, because when you need them, you won't be thinking very well. You won't be thinking straight, so it's good to know in advance where those are going to be.
I think most of you know me. I'm Rebecca Britton. So I head up the Communities and Partnerships team for Alconbury Weald. And we thought it was useful just to give a bit of a planning update on where things are. Hopefully you all got a newsletter recently which gave a bit of a sense of some of the bigger things that are going on at the moment. But I thought it's useful to just talk it through, show it on big screens, and also obviously take any questions as we go through. So, it worked. So you'll be very pleased to know we have finally submitted the Glade planning application, and this will be a really key centre within the first phase. It will bring together a lot of the cluster that's developing here with obviously this building, the Pavilion, BOHemia, and we're essentially looking at the space just over the road from us here, north of the County Council building, which will bring forward the co-op, convenience store, nursery. There'll be some flexible workspaces above the co-op as well, a bike hub, and particularly drawing on the feedback from the consultation we did, plenty of space for pop-up events, and we're already talking to some farmers markets and other people who will support us to do some events that activate that space. The sort of built form of all of those shops and amenities is also supported by some outdoor space, which includes some bits of woodland and glade, and also some open space where we hope we're doing the outdoor cinema without the glade, but it will be a lot better next year and on when we can use the glade for those. So we're still in planning at the moment. We are hopefully going to get consent anytime soon. So the project team are lined up to start on site hopefully in the next few weeks. And we're looking at the shop opening. It will be ready to open winter 22. We're working with Co-op to make sure hopefully they open this side of Christmas. It is their decision when they open, so we can't fully influence that, but I'm sure they'll want the festive pounds before we all put on the festive pounds. And then the planting for the trees and the green space will follow after that. We have to wait for planting season for that. So that will follow with the green space opening up kind of over the winter and into spring. So in terms of what that will look like, so that plan's a little bit dull and hard to read. So just one of the CGIs that we've got that you might have seen with the planning application, the media coverage. This is sort of how some of the buildings will work together. It's not actually the best view, but we've got some nice space in the middle there with some landscaping that forms part of the plans as well. So we think it'll be a really exciting space and place. We know everyone's keen for the shop and other things to come forward. Swinford stores will continue. It's a great location down by the play park, so we continue to work with Adrian and Sam to make sure that we effectively have both stores working and serving the community. Just in terms of the bigger picture, I know this is horrible to read. There is actually a very big version of this in the downstairs of the club, if you wanted to come and have a look or talk through with Natalie and I, but I will be breaking it down now into the different phases of development. So hopefully most of you will be familiar with phase 1 where we are now. So we're sitting, as Andy said earlier, in the Pavilion building up here. This is the Boulevard Primary School here and the commercial area on the other side of the Boulevard. So just in terms of where we are with the housing, I don't necessarily know how much detail you want on this, so we'll do a little run through and then obviously we can pick up any questions at the end. But most of you will know Hopkins Homes is effectively complete, area marked as 1 there. Morris is pretty nearly there. I think they've got about 5 units left, I think. And then Red Row are obviously under construction at the moment, but again, they're getting very close to completion on their parcels. So Civic Living, area 4, is also done. 4A will be, you may know, that sort of slightly hideous piece of scrub that sits between the Morris Homes and Civic Living. We are really pleased to say that planning is progressing well with Campbell Buchanan George, who will be moving into that area, and hoping that we'll see some activity on site there in the next few weeks. And then just rattling through, we've got Hopkins Parcel 2 and number 5. So they are really quite at the start of that. They're about a quarter of the way through that build. And 6 is Crest Nicholson, who are rattling on, actually about 2/3 through. 6A is currently in design. We don't have a house builder appointed for that yet, so we'll keep you posted on that. But for 7, 8, 9 and 10 are all in planning at the moment. So if you think about the session that we had earlier about the campus, a lot of the work that we've been doing has been getting ready that area and making sure that as planning comes through, the next house builders can move on. And you can hopefully see there's logic to the pattern that as these house builders finish, the construction moves away from the areas that are completed, and so we kind of roll on and look at phase 1 and then we'll go on to phase 2 and 3. So we're really pleased that Carla Homes are coming into parcel 7. They're new to Alconbury Weald, but they're not new to Urban and Civic. We work with them at Wintringham, at St Neots. Very, very good house builder and very keen to work with the local community. And then some familiar names coming into 8, 9 and 10 in Red Row who continue to like working here, like working with us, and 9 and 10 will come forward with Morris. So we are working with the team bringing forward the school to make sure the remediation is done on that parcel, the infrastructure is in place, and the houses are built to work alongside the school coming forward.
Sorry, Rebecca, I've got a call. We're going to go.
Okay, no worries. I'm not getting in the way of David. I was saying to him earlier, I've been on the other side of some miraculous people arriving at the house and saving lives, so I take my hat off to them every time, and we will continue to support them, and we'll try and get the house builders to buy some kit as well. So I think that's probably all on the housing. Any questions on the housing before I move on to commercial? Commercial, just a couple of updates really. We have a planning application at the moment for really almost the last big building within the enterprise zone phase 1. So that's a company called AM Fresh, who have connections in with UK. That includes a production facility, an innovation centre, and they also have quite a lot of jobs coming forward. I know MM are posting at the moment, aren't they, that they've got vacancies, but AM Fresh will be recruiting another 250 to 300 people over the course of the next couple of years as they move forward. So we'll wait and see if they get planning. Hopefully they will. And then obviously, as you will know, the County Council headquarters has opened, and I think they've had their first committee meetings, and staff are moving in over the course of September. So lots going on the commercial area. We have had lots of interest over the last few weeks from other companies wanting to come to the site. So it's very much a period of interest and growth on the enterprise zone. Just one thing it's worth mentioning, I don't know how many of you go over to Pearson Road in the enterprise zone. We have had a couple of concerns from the companies working up there. We've had a bit of a safety review on one of the roads because there was quite a lot of speeding happening. So we've got some temporary traffic lights in place there while we monitor the situation, and we'll be doing some speeding checks and things over the next few weeks. But just wanted to highlight to people, I'm sure Pearson Road isn't the only place where we have bits of speeding, but please do take care on the roads. Clearly on the commercial side, whilst this isn't on one of the lorry roads, we don't have HGVs going this way, but we do have quite a lot of cars at peak time. So if you are pedestrian or cyclist going in this area, please just be aware. We haven't had any incidents yet, but we've just had concerns raised, so we want to make sure we respond to that. So phase 2. Many of you will hopefully have taken part in. It's always difficult with these residence forums because people are moving in all the time, so I don't know whether many of you were at the original Grange Farm phase 2 consultation events that we did. For those of you who were, the plan for phase 2 is to bring forward, over here, 1,500 homes in phase 2 on Grange Farm, as well as the country park area. That's been in planning for a couple of years, but we have had some challenges that this road, the A141, that you'll all be probably familiar with, is undergoing a review at the moment as to whether it is dualled, and the likelihood is it will be moved to be further out from where it is. Currently is Huntingdon's Ring Road, which will potentially bring it across the south end of the site. So we've amended the application to make sure that we just essentially go for the north side in the first phase, and then once we know what's happening a bit more here, we bring forward the southern side as a second phase. But the link road, the Southern Gateway access, will go in initially. So we are waiting now for the final technical approval on getting that Southern Gateway in, and hopefully on consent to move forward with the northern side of Grange Farm, and then we'll be getting going on that, and that also includes the country park. So we did this initial piece of consultation a few years ago now, about 2 years ago, on the country park. Because we've had lots of new residents since then, we will hopefully be coming out again. We'll just get the timing right between this year and early next year to just double check in really on the thoughts around the woodland, the grassland areas, the amenities that will come forward in the country park, as well as looking at obviously the detailed delivery for the homes and the second primary school for the development that will come forward just back here. and also some sports pitches that will be at the north side of Grange Farm. So the first thing people will probably see is the route of the road, which will come out on the A141, and that's about a 9 to 12 month build. It's quite a long bit of road, so we'll keep people posted on that. But clearly, we're really keen to open up that section to make life a little bit easier for the Stukelys, a bit quieter for people going through, and also mean we've got that direct route to the Huntingdon. Now, the timing for the Country Park and Grange Farm is still a little bit unclear while we go through planning, but Natalie's been working very hard with the team because we know that whilst there's green areas and green routes within phase 1, there's not a really long walk that you can easily do without going round and round a little bit. So we are looking to bring forward a route that basically hugs the boundary with the Americans and means that people can get to the public rights of way that are on Grange Farm at the moment. We've got some work going on there at the moment to make it safe. We'll have some additional work happening with the school coming forward to make it a little bit prettier. So it'll be quite functional in first instance, but it will ensure that people can go for a bit of a longer walk and do some circular routes. So hopefully later on this year we'll be opening that up, and Natalie will confirm in the next few weeks the exact timing of that. So we're cantering through now. I know there is a logic to this, but we are very keen to get going on phase 3, even though we haven't started phase 2 yet. And the logic to that is that phase 3 has the town centre. And we know a lot of people are very keen to know when's the health centre coming forward, how the sports hub will come forward. And so the work that we're doing at the moment is firstly identifying the location for the town centre. When we went into outline planning in 2012, it was a bit further up here. What we really want to do now is move it to the centre so that it's right next to the education campus, the sports hub, the health centre is all in one central location for the development. So you might have seen a few pieces in the newsletter and at the summer Saturdays around that. We've got a piece in the club at the moment as well around that move, and that's really helping us to get the concept and vision right for key phase 3. And a key part of that is, whilst the guys earlier talked about the sports provision of the education campus, we are working also with sports providers about the community sport offer. So as well as having community access to the sports facilities here, principally within the community sports area, we're working with Huntingdon Rugby Club to bring them home to Huntingdon, and also with the hockey club and football and others. So we continue the discussion to make sure those sports facilities complement each other. And those of you who were able to enjoy the Heritage Open Day on Saturday will know we have a bunker here and a heritage area listed linked to the Cold War. So the idea for the town centre is it's got both shops and cafes. It's also got Runway Park that connects down to the country park, and it's got the health centre, things like the police liaison area, and also links into heritage and walkways further around the development. So it's quite a big chunk of action that we'll be working on. We just had a couple of internal design sessions on this, but what we're likely to do is, I think probably before Christmas, have a couple of workshops with residents around the sorts of things they want to see here, the look and feel of it, whether we've got the right mix of shops, the sorts of shops people want to see coming forward, to make sure that we get a good design to go into planning for the town centre and for the housing that will come forward to the north of it as well. There's about another 1,200 homes coming forward here, but critical to that is getting that town centre right and all the amenities alongside those extra homes.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Becca. Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere, so if
You're not
anything
going
else
anywhere.
comes to mind.
Yeah. So I'm just going to, obviously it's been quite a long session, so I'm just going to go through a community update. I'm absolutely delighted to say that BOHemia is open and the coffee is lovely. Really, yeah, fantastic. So if anyone, I hope everyone gets down there and has a go. The pavilion that we're in right now is open and just about fully booked for activities. Things slowed down over the summer as you would expect, but as you can see from the schedule, it's pretty much fully booked. And actually, I've been speaking to somebody today to fill up that Tuesday slot. So you know, it's looking pretty busy in there. If you do want to book parties or anything like that, if you email the info@Alconbury Weald email address, and then we'll look at that for you. I would say get your bookings in early. I've already had a clash for middle of next year, so if you're looking to book parties, let me know. The pavilion is generally fully booked on a Saturday until 2 p.m, so after 2, and we have a close at 10 p.m. So and that's just to obviously at the moment we don't have any residents directly behind us, but in the very near future they will be. So it's a 10 p.m. finish for the pavilion. I hope everyone managed to get down to the Heritage Open Day. It was an absolute blast. The big band were amazing, and as I came off the bus, it was just so atmospheric. The bus that we actually had in to do the bunker tours was a vintage 1944. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, and the dancing. Was completely inundated with requests for the bunker tour. Sold out very, very quickly. Very aware that lots of people didn't get on it. I will be running some more in the new year. I'll start off with the ones who already requested, and then work through that. But I will let everyone know when they're coming up. I'll probably run them fairly regularly to start with, just to keep up with a bit of demand that we've managed to build up through that. The cycle hub is there every Sunday, so if you need to get your bike fixed, it's free unless they need to do repairs, and you can hire for free e-bikes and tandems and cargo bikes. If you just email through Smarter Journeys, and they can take the booking. I know we have some people here who have taken good use of it. And I think we actually have we currently have the record breakers at the moment, who for the most amount of miles done, which I think was about 250 miles in a month, which is pretty impressive on an e-bike. So that's available to all residents. The community association continues to grow and continues to make strides. We've started a speed watch scheme. We're actually having our first session tomorrow, so you might see us out with our speed guns. Obviously, we don't want to encourage speeding. But it was following from residents concerns about speeding. So it's a way of the community really coming together and looking at the issue. If you'd like to volunteer for that, please just give me an email. The neighbourhood watch continues to grow. If you just go to ourwatch.org.uk, you can sign up for that. We have a community, we have a coordinator on site, so it's just volunteering, saying I want to be part of it. Not onerous in any way. If you'd like to be a coordinator for your area, then you can do as well. You can just sign up via the website, ourwatch.org.uk. Events from the Community Association for next year. We are looking at maybe doing an open gardens. It depends how many gardens that we can find that want to be opened. So it's very much a community-led event. There would be a map with people who are happy to have them peak in their gardens. We already have a coordinator, so we're looking at the moment for people to help organise it, and also gardens to go and have a look at. We've only got the first person who's volunteered so far. So if you're very proud of your garden and you'd like your neighbours to come and have a look, then please let me know. And we're also looking at a scarecrow festival, which a lot of the villages in the area actually do, and I know the one at Woodhurst is fabulous, and they really make a real effort to make their scarecrows very, very creative. Again, if you would, once we get a bit further into next year, we'll work out how it will work, where you can get your hay from to make your scarecrow. This weekend we've got the outdoor cinema, so Friday night we've got Top Gun, which I'm so excited about. The times are slightly on the late side, that is because it has to be dark, otherwise you can't see the screen. I have tried to have it slightly earlier, I'm told that you wouldn't be able to see the screen, so it's pointless. So that's why it's at that time, but there'll be food and there'll be entertainment, so just come down. Quite excited, it's going to be a good weekend. 2nd of October we've got the library launch, so this is actually an event that we were going to have Easter last year, and it was all in planned and it was all ready, and we went into lockdown about a week before. So this is our second attempt at the library launch. So the library is based in the club. You can borrow books. It's done on an honesty basis, so rather than needing a card as if you would in a normal library, this is classed as a temporary library by the library service. So you can take them out for a bit longer. We also take donations, which can be brought in. I have some volunteers who are happy to man it, but if anyone else would like to volunteer to man the library, again, not very onerous, a couple of hours a month, come and sit and read a book and chat to people in the club. Now, my last community issue is cricket on the cricket pitch, and I had set up lots and lots of cricket games this year. There was a lot going to be happening, and when they came to look at the pitch, they felt that because of the dog wee on it, that it wasn't working and they couldn't do it. So I've had lots and lots of work done on the pitch to make it of a good standard, but in order for it to for us to have cricket next year, I need to have fewer dogs or no dogs on the pitch. Signs are going to go up. I think from a community point of view, the cricket pitch is an amazing facility. A huge amount of effort has gone into making it fabulous. Not being able to have cricket just because of that feels so terrible, and I would love to see cricket on there. I mean, I had in the diary, I think 15 matches set up this summer. As it was, only a handful actually happened because of this problem. So signs will be going up. Obviously, it needs to come from the community. I can't stop you taking your dogs on there, but I please and ask you not to. We do have Watch Office Green. We've got the dog walking area down by the back of by the side of Swinford Storage, which you can access there. And that will obviously get bigger. That walkway down to Grange Farm will then be longer. So it's just an appeal, really. I'd love to see cricket on the pitch all summer next year. So and that's all from me. If you do have any questions ongoing, my email address is always there. Please, my email address is always the best way to get hold of me. You can put it on Facebook, but I don't necessarily see it. People do messenger me as well. And I say again, my email address is the first point of call in the morning. If you want to know something, that's the best place to get hold of me.